All right, welcome to part two of the tutorial. In this section, we look at the reports that are generated and we break it down as well as looking into how to implement the velocity banking strategy step by step once you get the report. All right, if you haven't already done so, make sure you like and subscribe to this video so you can get the following parts when they come out. Let's get right into it. After you've entered all your information, then you do to get report. Then you hit get report. The get report is where the magic actually happens. Here's where the velocity banking report actually happens for you. So what it does is it starts off with analyzing your debt. It says, what do you have? Let's see, what do you got? You got your line of credit, and it breaks down just based on the information you entered. It checks out your utilization. Now, utilization, why is utilization important? Because utilization may have an impact on your credit score. The goal is to keep your utilization on any of your debt less than 65, 66% in that range. So this calculates your utilization, and it won't let you use any of these tools as your chunking tool if your utilization gets over that 66%. Use it, but it won't recommend it for you. So we see our TD line of credit, we see our Citibank, we see our American Express Platinum, this is how much we owe, and we see our utilization, like we said, that this is almost maxed out, so you definitely can't use it for chunking. Then your American Express Platinum, you don't have 6% utilization, which isn't bad, so you could probably use it for chunking. So it analyzes all your debt. And then it starts to break down the actual plan. This is the actual debt payoff plan. At this point, you can actually stop. Once you know which order to pay things off, then you can choose to pay it off however way you want to do it. You don't have to use the velocity banking method. You don't have to chunk it. You don't have to do any of this stuff. Even though mathematically doing velocity banking method is the best method to use. However, I know that there's lots of people out there who find it hard to keep track of things to chunk. But let's walk through it. So then it says, you could use your line of credit as a means of paying off your debt. So based on your cash flow, here's where cash flow is so important, because the cash flow determines how much chunking you can do and how often you chunk. Recap how the velocity banking works, how chunking works. So you take a chunk payment. So in this example, you're going to take a chunk payment from your line of credit. You take this chunk payment, pay this Amex Platinum from your line of credit by this amount. Okay. Now you're going to do this every 12 months. You're going to chunk this amount right here. The question always is, well, aren't you just borrowing from your line of credit, paying off your Amex? Now you have a new debt on your line of credit. The answer is yes, you do. But you're going to use your cash flow, this $198, and you pay off this chunk. So here's where people get really confused. They don't get how this works. So I'm going to try to explain it again. So you have your line of credit over here. You have your Amex over here. The interest rate on your Amex is more than the interest rate on your line of credit. So it is better to move money from your line of credit to this Amex so you can cut the amount that you owe so you pay less interest. Have this debt, this new $2,376 on your line of credit. Each month you're using your leftover cash flow to actually pay off that chunk you just made. So in 12 months you will have that chunk paid off, because 12 times $198 is going to give you $2,376. So that's what this shows. So then this report breaks it down even more. So this is all the information that you've entered. This is where you currently pay each month. The amount you've already paid by now by chunking, there isn't anything because it's your first debt that you're going to tackle. This is the current balance you have. left over from any chunk. There isn't any because it's your first debt. And you keep going through all this, and you make a chunk payment, and it tells you when to make the chunk payments and how much to make. Now it also calculates the interest. Here's the interest you're going to pay from chunking. Here's what you're going to pay on that line of credit for this chunk amount. So in about 0.088 years, so pretty much in about a month, you're going to pay off this Amex. Actually, less than a month, you're going to pay off this Amex. So after that's done, then you move on to the next debt. Now here's what's interesting, because the next debt, again, it breaks it down for you. Because you've already paid off this Amex, right, where you are paying $120 a month on this Amex. Once this is paid off, you've got that extra $120 left because you're not paying it to the Amex anymore. Now so your cash flow has gone up by $120 because now you got this extra payment that you're not paying Amex anymore. So that means you can now make a new monthly payment of $420 towards your line of credit, right? So before you're paying $300 a month, that's what you entered, and now the Amex is paid off. So by July, so by next month, so you pay off Amex this month. Next month, you tackle your line of credit. Now, and you pay more. Now you could pay $420 a month, and you start paying off your line of credit. And by next year, based on this $198 cash flow that you started with, and your extra $420 payment that you're making, combine those, and you will be able to pay off this in about a year, 0.9 months. So you're going to go from July to April. No chunk payments. You're just paying no extra payments, no chunk payments. You just have more cash flow now. You keep paying this new monthly payment because you're no longer paying Amex Platinum because that debt is like paid off. It's clean. It's done. So once that's done, then you tackle Citibank. And then when you get to the Citibank, it's the same deal. It tells you when to make a chunk payment. Now you're still making this $100 because it's still basing it on the $198 of your cash flow. This is why each month or each time you pay off your debt, you should come back to the app and update the app. Now when you've paid off your line of credit, now your cash flow goes up because now you get an extra $300. Right? So let's recap. You were paying $120 for Amex, but that's paid off. So now you have that extra $120, and you were paying $300 for your line of credit. Once that's paid off, you get an extra $300. So by the time you get to Citibank, you can now pay $620 a month, which is the $200 you're currently paying, plus all this other, plus the $300. Plus the $120. That's going to give you the $620. So again, it's going to take you roughly 3 months, and then you're going to pay off this Citibank. So, and if you had more debts, it would be doing the exact same thing. So in total, you're going to pay it off about $13,000 in about a year and a half. And that includes the interest. It's going to add up all the interest that you paid, both interest from chunking and then just both interest that you just pay for carrying that debt. So then it draws your chart, and you kind of have an idea as to what the timeline is going to look like. So $13,000 in about a year and a half. So once this works, so the way that the app works is that you pay non-mortgage debt first. Why do you pay non-mortgage debt first? Because your mortgage is amortized. So there's really not much dent you can make yet while you still have more non-mortgage debt. That is things like your car loan, your credit cards, all this other stuff. So then once that's paid off, you can tackle your mortgage. So that's the report and how the report works. So if you were on the free trial version of this, it's where you stop and you then just print it out. pick the print menu on your browser. Right, so this is what you get. So you print it out. I'm going to print out just page 1. You can print out color black and white. So that's how Velocity Banking works. So that's how the app works. And that's how the app figures out what's best for you. Now, if you go back to your home, let's just refresh this. You will see that your home screen, your dashboard looks a lot different. Than now there's charts and there's graphs. There's interest that you saved, which is here. And then there's the comparison of how much you save doing Velocity Banking. You pay it off a little here, showing that it's almost the exact same, and that's because when you go back and you update it after you paid off your non-mortgage debt, you will see that this is going to totally change. And this chart gives you your breakdown of your expenses. So all the red, it's all your expenses. So at a glance, you see that most of your expenses happen in the first half of the month, and then all your payments are near the least half, the bottom half, the last half of the month, which is kind of what you want to do. And if you go back again, you just go back by hitting any of these, and you look at your calendar. You'll see your calendar is now populated as well. So you know, again, all your expenses are in the beginning of the month. And you can see where you actually had a negative cash flow. Right, so then you can take a look at it. So green is income, so is when you get more money, and red is expenses, and blue is any debt payment. So that's what this is. Right, so that is it. So that's the breakdown on how the major functions of the app and how you actually use the app to help you implement the Velocity Banking strategy.